I spent part of yesterday looking for a schematic for this radio. I found one that's for the Russian original radio, and none of the parts seem to be the same. Okay, the general idea is the same, but what's really stopping me now is this battery pack. It's a lithium battery pack. They took a giant, full-size piece of double sticky, put it on the back of that, and slapped it on top of the components. So this thing is really stuck on there. Now, you have to discharge this thing all the way down, because if you try to pry it up, this could burst into flames. That's where I'm at. Now, as I'm sitting there thinking about this whole nonsense, I think about, why I'm in electronics, what caused this problem, and it's psychological. Whenever I get a problem, I just have to solve it. I stay with it until it's solved. And other people can walk away from things. And you're happier in life if you can not let things bother you and walk away. The satisfaction you get with staying with something till it becomes painful and annoying isn't really worth it. Okay? I would really like to be one of those people that can walk away from something, but I can't. Now, let me go back in my childhood and explain to you one of the examples, okay? There was this thing called a zebra pellet gun. It didn't use air. It wasn't like a BB gun. It was just a simple little, you pull the trigger, and this little piston inside the plastic case would hit a little pellet and shoot it out through the front. Maybe the pellet would go 20 feet. The pellets came in little boxes. There were 5 cents each for the ammo. And they were little silver pellets. And they had a consistency of a malt ball. Now, if you don't know what malt balls are, whoppers, but smaller. And when they hit the ground hard, they would break. Okay? Now, picture this. You have to go buy the ammo for 5 cents. It's in a little box. On the back of the box, there's a bullseye. You can use the empty box as targets. Okay? It won't puncture the cardboard. It just knocks the box over. It was a cute little gun. It was called a zebra gun. And you could fit it in your pocket. And this is back in the days when it didn't have to be orange. And I bought mine. And I think a kid in school might have showed it to me. Well, anyway, I bought one. And then all the other kids in the neighborhood got one. And after like one day, it got too expensive operating the gun, because the pellets came in a box 5 cents each. So as we're playing, I had a kid that visited me from high school, 7th grade, I believe it was. I'll say high school, but it was actually secondary school. And he didn't have the money for a zebra gun, but he would go around, pick the pellets up and the empty boxes, and he'd restuff them with the ammo, and he'd at least go home with the ammo. And it was really annoying, because as you're shooting at another kid and playing, he's in between picking these things up. So we stopped playing with the guns because it got too expensive. So I go up with my parents every Thursday. We'd go food shopping. I'd sometimes go with them. And I'm walking around. I'm looking at the aisles. Now, you would say, what could you see in a food store? Well, me and my father would sort of find things that you could use for something else. So I'm walking around, and I found a big bag of peas. I think they were called navy peas. My mother did not buy peas that were dried out to make soups. These were for making soup, I believe. And I'm looking at them. I go, those are the same size as the pellets for the pellet gun. And I kept looking. I'd go around the aisles. I'd look. I'd come back to them. I keep looking. And it was like, I think the bag, maybe it was 50 cents, maybe. So I go home and I'm telling my friends, and they're all rolling their eyes at me. So I got the amount of money. So I go walking up there with them. And they came with me. And it was a food fair at the time. It hadn't become a pantry pride. And I went in there and I bought the bag of peas. And I come out and I had the zebra gun in my pocket. And I cut a little hole in the bag. And I filled the gun up and I rapid fired the thing. Totally emptied it out. Now, say it held 50 pellets. So I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Making sure none of them jammed. None of them jammed. Now, these peas are dried. You figure pieces would come off and jam the gun. It did not. So I filled it again. Bing, 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 bing. So now the two guys with me, they like, well, come in and show us where the peas are. I said, no, you go in there and you walk around. So I waited outside, and they come out with the peas, and I made sure they looked at the name of the bag, so they come out with the exact same peas. So they come out, and we're on the way home. We're just going nuts with these things, and the bag of peas isn't going down. I mean, this is a really, it had to be about a foot long, 6 inches wide bag of peas. So we go home, and all day long we're shooting these things at anything, because you don't have to. It's not 5 cents for a little package of ammo. So you're shooting at the trees, you're shooting at leaves, you're shooting at up in the air. And then they're landing, and nobody in the neighborhood's complaining about them because they're biodegradable. And the birds are coming down and taking them. I don't know what they did with them, if they could eat them. I don't know. And then when they hit, they split into two halves. And this went on, and then the next day we're playing with them, and my friend's gun stops working. And you could tell the spring, it still shot the pellet, but the return on the trigger wasn't working. So about an hour later, mine did the same thing. So I go in the house, and we're eating dinner, and I told my father, I said, yeah, my pellet gun, I said, I went and bought navy peas, and they work perfectly. I said, but the gun got so much use that it broke. And then he says to me, well, did you open it up? And I'm like, well, he goes, well, it doesn't work. You're just going to throw it out? Open it up. So it had those little pins. I don't know how to describe it. You have two halves of plastic, and then there's a pin on one side, a plastic pin that goes into the other, and they're glued in spots. And I slowly worked it apart, and I pulled out a piece of spring wire. At the time, I didn't know what spring wire was. I just knew it was wire. I showed it to my father, and he says, okay. So I put the gun in the drawer, in my desk, in my bedroom. And the next day he comes home, and we're eating dinner, and he pulls a piece of spring wire out of his pocket. Basically, it's same as piano wire, guitar string, a certain diameter. He got the exact diameter. He bought me a nice piece. I could make it several times. And he goes, fix it. So after dinner, I went down the cellar, and I laid the broken piece down, and I bent a new piece exactly the same as the old part. The two pieces, right? Put it in the gun, bing, 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 gun working. Okay? Put a little tiny bit of glue in each spot, so it'd be easier to get back apart the next time. So I go over and I show my friend. Now my friend, his father had already repaired it. He put a piece of string on the trigger. So every time my friend would shoot the gun, he had to pull the string. So in one hand he had a string, and he'd shoot the gun, pull the trigger. I said, I'll fix that for you. He didn't want it. See, his father had already fixed it for him. And it became really annoying when you're playing with someone that's running around, shooting a gun, pulling the trigger back with the string, and it didn't always work right. And after a few days, you basically put it aside, okay, and you don't play with it anymore. Somehow it got thrown out. So that's just one story. Now, the other thing I was known for is anytime I bought anything, for some reason I would have it apart within an hour, and then back together. Now, when I was really small, I would take things apart, and I didn't put them back together. And my mother would remember that and always say something. So years later, I bought a $1,000 VCR, and within an hour and a half of getting it and checking it out, I had it apart. And my mother's like going nuts. You had to take it apart. I said, hey, take it easy, take it easy. I said, I'm going to put a TV decoder in this, and I'm going to record movies. She'd roll her eyes. That's what everybody does to me. They roll their eyes. She walks away. An hour later, I have a decoder built in the VCR. The VCR is back together, and I'm able to record the movie, but not the sound, because the way the decoder box, this Womeco box was, you put it next to your TV set. It put the video on the television, but the sound came out of the box. So now I'm recording I can record the movie, but I can't get the sound, and the sound's coming out of the box. So I'm sitting there thinking about it, and I'm looking at the manual for the RCA. And it was the RCA with the turret tuners on it. And it says, microphone input jack, dub. And I'm like, dub? What the hell is dub? So it says, you can put a video in there, and while you're recording a movie, you can put commentary over it. And I'm like, no way. So I took the Wameco box that I had built from scratch, and I ran an audio out, and I put some controls on it so I could adjust the volume. I plugged the jack into the front of the VCR. Now the sound is coming out of the television set along with the picture, and it's recording it. Okay, so I became the guy that could get, like, the football teams went on strike. This is way, way back now. And the Wameco was running NFL films. So a friend of mine got me to record all those for him. You know, he was the only one running around with the NFL films. I think they were $50 each or whatever. But I always looked at something and think about it. You know, like this thing here, I'm looking at it. I really would like to have the actual schematic. And I really wish they didn't put that stupid battery over the part that I have to troubleshoot. Okay, the part that's bad is under that battery. Okay, and this is my life. Okay, and you could say, well, everybody's on. No, I'm more unlucky because I get into situations the average person does not get into. Okay, I've had so many things dropped off at my house for me to fix for people, and they would make comments to me. You know, they're telling me what's wrong with it, and they're Looney Tunes, delusional people. And then, like, to show them, I would fix it and give it back to them. And then they try to tell me it was what they said it was. And it was really annoying. And what I should have done was just go, no, I'm not fixing that. I go to work every day. You go to work, right? Yeah. Well, you going to work after work? No. Well, either am I. Well, yeah, I actually know how to do something. Okay. What is it you actually do at work? And a lot of people couldn't even explain their job to me. They're pencil pushers, paper pushers. Okay, they fill out forms and stuff. When you're a repairman, and you're able to fix almost anything, even without the schematic. That's why with the Russian schematic, I can basically get an idea. I'll read up how these things work, because there's no coils in this radio. It's strictly they mix signals together. There's some type of sampling. I'm started reading up on it. This radio is basically, I won't say it's horseshit. It's an idea. It does work. Just the FM band alone, you can tell it's pretty good quality, the sound. Okay, it's not total junk. And this one here is a Chinese knockoff. I didn't know anything about it, but I stay with stuff because it's painful. I'm not staying with it because you're going to learn something. All you're going to learn is how to fix another one. Okay, you fix this one, you learn how to fix another one. You open this up and have the battery explode on you, you learn something. Now, I know going into it that if you deform that battery trying to pry it out, it's going to explode. You got to also make a tool. I was trying a credit card. I make a tool that goes under there and slowly separates it from the double sticky tape. Okay, but this you're looking at right now is a snapshot of my life. You know, think about it. I bought this, so at the end of the night, I could just sit there with this in my hand, scan different frequencies, dick around with it, kill some time. Didn't happen. Okay, overpaid for it. Got software in it that was basically worthless. Figured out how to flash it. Went through all the annoying things with the flashing. The company, and the other video I said it is ST Microsystems in the directory. But anyway, there's so much you have to go through just to flash this, and it's very simple to flash it, but you have to install the driver. Okay, and you got to find the driver, and it's sitting there in a directory. Windows can't find it. You're fighting Windows because a week before, or so many days before, Windows blew up my camera program. I had to reinstall Windows. It knocked out my VCL or VLC program. So last night when I went to watch a movie before I went to bed, it wouldn't work. Windows can't handle the movie. It wants to go to the Microsoft store. I'm like, you know what? This is ridiculous. You can't read PDFs because the PDF viewer in Microsoft Windows is a piece of shit. So I use Fox Edit. Now Fox Edit wants I don't know if I downloaded the 14-day trial period. Fox Edit seems to want money now. So it's like when you're reading online, you get these pop-ups. You want to read this article? We want so much a month. So you got like 10 different sources that you read from, and they all want money now. Okay? Well, it's the same thing with the computer. You have all these programs that you've collected. Everything's running fine. Windows does an update. It knocks out all these programs on you. And then one by one, you try to put them back in, and they all want money. You're sitting there, you're like, this doesn't get any better than this. And you spend 4 hours of your life reinstalling everything every time Windows does a stupid update, okay? Because they don't want those programs in there. They want their programs in there, okay? And it's all a big game. And the Chinese sellers on eBay, it's all a big game, okay? You go from one big game to another. And I just said, I'm going to get away from this stuff, okay? But I said, it'd be nice to have this little stupid radio. It's another radio, but it's it's different than other radios. All right, now I'm learning this radio a lot more than I want to, okay? And you can change this radio, its functions, just by changing the software. There's there's flashes to this radio that it'll decode fax and it'll decode CW, okay? And I was reading up on it. I said, yeah, it's pretty good. You build the radio and you add features to it just by changing the software, which is pretty incredible. Okay, but the front end of the radio is really bad. So there's guys selling amplifiers you screw onto the radio. You add an outside antenna. That's not what I wanted. I want to be able to hold this in my hand and walk around. Okay, I have a little tiny shortwave radio, fits in the palm of my hand, but it doesn't have a display. Okay, it doesn't have direct entry. Oh, and the direct entry, when you put your finger on the frequency on the display, up comes a direct entry for the frequency. But when you touch it, it doesn't always give you the number you touch, and sometimes it sucks. Okay, a lot of this radio, it's trying to do too much. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting one of these radios and you watch one of these videos, don't expect too much from it. Okay. The DX390 I always tell you to buy. I noticed they've gone up on eBay in price. That does everything except it won't do the spectrum analyzer. They call it the waterfall display, where you can be on a frequency and you can see other frequencies next to it, like a spectrum analyzer, and then maybe you'll tune down and see what those are. A lot of times they're noise from the radio. Now, one guy does a video, goes, look, when I hit the noise reduction, look how quiet it gets. That's because the radio is making noise that's not even coming from the atmosphere. So the noise reduction is actually there to get rid of the noise from the radio itself. Okay, so there's a lot of people that are being misled by this radio, but overall, it is a unique idea. There are no coils in this radio. Let's just say tune coils. Okay, there are little RF chokes. I can't see most of this stuff because it's under that. And as I peel that stupid battery up, how many parts is it going to break? Okay, so that's where we're going. We're going to go into the deep rabbit hole. You know, now Shango 66, when he gets annoyed with something, he fixes it and then he sets it on fire. You know, that looks like a basically a good idea at this point. You know, set the thing on fire. This way you don't have to think about it anymore. It's like, I still think about that pellet gun with the kid with the string. He would not let me fix it. Now, in later years, he annoyed me for a whole bunch of stuff to fix. I won't go into it. But I had a pipeline of people that when I come home from work, I'd be sitting at the dinner table. My mother would be breaking it to me that one of her girlfriends wanted something fixed for free. And one time she didn't trust me to fix something. She had her son go get the part. And then I wanted so much. She paid me $3 and a bucket of peanut butter. I've told the story before. But screwed over is me, okay? That's because the more people you deal with, and especially if they're your mother's friends, they're going to be a screw up, okay? If you can pick the friend, they screw up too many times, you get rid of them. But when you got people coming in through you, now my dad's friends paid. They would pay my father for fixing the thing. He'd give me half. My mother's friends were Looney Tunes, delusional people. Their children were losers, okay? And they were constantly, my mother kept telling me they were making more money than me, and they weren't. And then the shit would hit the fan. And then my mother would tell me a story. Oh, you're being mean to him. Oh, you're being mean to me when you tell me how smart he was, and he isn't that smart. That's okay. Oh, he makes more than you do. Blah blah blah. That's okay to do. But when the kid screws up and gets fired and can't find another job, and I don't snicker. I just kind of like smile a little bit, and because I was right again. Okay. At some point, you do get like that. Okay. I wasn't at the point where I could hold in my emotions really well. You know, everybody keeps telling me, "Oh, he's got a great car." So then it falls apart. You know, one guy I worked with kept telling me this one car he bought. He bought it used. Every part on that car was used. It was a dealer that fixed a certain car. And every time a part was bad, they would pull it off a car and then they build up another car with it. You know, dents, dings, scratches, cracks in plastic. Well, he kept telling me his car it was better than my brand new car. And at some point, he had it parked in his mother's driveway, and the frame broke. The frame was bad. It was rotted out. It could not be fixed. His mother got fines for having it in the driveway without registration on it. Couldn't be registered because it couldn't pass inspection. But I've listened to people tell me, "Oh, you ought to do this. You ought to do that." A lot of times when you watch the video, I'm already one step ahead, or I've already realized that. Now, the one guy said there should be an S in the name of this radio. Now, somebody did already do that on the internet. Okay, they actually programmed the radio when it comes up. I think it has they call it a splash thing. They put the S in the word. It is a radio that if you came out with this in 1960, people would be going nuts. Okay, it's real simple to make. It's just a bunch of ICs. Now, there could be coils under that battery pack because I do see some coils on the schematic, the Russian schematic. But now my goal is to try to find the schematic for this thing. It would be really nice to have the schematic for this. Now, the other thing too is my usage on my internet account. Yesterday was the last day. It didn't reset. I just came under the 102 gigabytes by a few megs. Now it's sitting there. I think it wants to go over on me. So they charge me $20 if I upload this video. Everything is a pain in the ass lately. Okay, I won't go into what's going on in the neighborhood and people dying and COVID and all that. This project was to get me away from that, to sit at the end of the night with the 2 last hours and relax and then go to bed. Okay, and get away from the J.J. Walker. It's free. You're down your area code. And then what's the other one? Joe Namath. Okay. Every commercial break, I have to hit the mute. Every channel they're on. Okay. So I go on shortwave at night just before bed, and it would be nice to have a unit I could sit in the room here, and then I go, let me go lay in bed. Go lay in bed, and you just tap the screen on this, and you can see it. This would be perfect for laying in bed, just screwing around, okay? But it didn't go that way, did it? It's the same old with me. Same rabbit holes, same software problems. It's amazing, okay? Now, like I said, if I send this back, the dealer's going to keep it, he's going to sell it to somebody else, and he's not going to give me my money back. If I get involved with eBay, it's going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to be he said, she said type of thing, okay? I know where this is going because I went down this road once before. A guy went around in the floods. Just say Louisiana got flooded out. The guy went around with his car, and he took a bunch of computers out of the garbage that were flooded. And he took the parts out, and he put them on eBay. And I bought a modem, and right away, I knew the part had been in water. And I told the guy, and he gave me a bad review. We went back and forth fighting, and eBay maybe... they took away my account. I had to start over. And then it turned out they kicked him out because he was doing exactly what I said. And eBay did nothing to come back and say to me, you know, you were right about the guy. He was selling stuff he picked out of the garbage. Okay? He got caught. Okay? But I didn't get all my positives from all the things I sold over the years. That account was destroyed. They gave me a pair of sunglasses. This is way back. But that's why, you know, I have a certain attitude because I know where stuff's going. It's like I'm looking at this and I'm like, there's supposed to be little ferret beads in this radio. Where are they? They're under that pack. They could be under that pack And when I peel that pack up, all those little ferrite beads that have windings through them are going to come off on the piece of, double sticky. Okay? But I just want to show you, my life, knowing how to fix stuff isn't enough. Okay? It's like the pellet gun. My father started that. Did you look at it? It's like in my neighborhood, I fixed everybody's flat tires on their bicycles. They all tried it. It never worked. I became the guy. Now, I had this one kid I grew up with, extremely stupid. Okay? He didn't know how stupid he was. We're up at the top of the driveway. I've just patched the tube. And I'm putting the front wheel on the bike, and I'm tightening up the nuts. And his father whistles for him. Now, this kid, whenever his father whistled for him, he would go into a daze and shoot off. All right? So I got the front wheel on the bicycle, and he's sitting on the seat of the bike, and I'm tightening up the nuts. And I hear his father whistle, and I'm trying to stop him. He insisted on leaving. He went down the driveway, and as soon as he went up, it was a steep driveway, he went down. As soon as he got to the bottom, the wheel came off the bike. He constantly told the story that I let him take the bike without the nuts being tightened up. He didn't realize he he zoned out when his father whistled. Okay? Now, he went on later on to ride a bike up a ramp, fall off the bike and break his arm. And we're sitting on the curb and we're telling the story. And I said, yeah, the bike went down the street by itself. Right? So he's telling, I could do that. He gets up, he comes racing down the sidewalk. He hits the sidewalk. There was a sinkhole there. The sidewalk was up in the air like a ramp. He goes up, he falls off the bike the same way. He breaks his wrist again, and the bicycle goes down the street by itself. And the kid that got him to do it goes, that's really cool. I said, no, it's not. I said, he just broke his wrist again. And then he would go home, and he would sit there all day until his father came home from work. His father would not come home from work and take him to the hospital. He had to wait for his father to come home. I could tell you a million of these stupid stories, and you say, gee, yes, I was. I was surrounded by stupid people. And it all comes down to the amount of income your parents make and what neighborhood you're going to be in and how smart people are. It's all the same thing. They can be nice people, but they're not going to be smart. Okay? And I could tell this when I used to go for long walks, and I would stop and talk to people in like Nutley. They were all educated people over there. And you talk to them, and they were so nice to me. They probably said, they took pity on me because they're like, well, you know how to do this. Why aren't you work? Yeah, why don't I have a better job? Because I didn't show, when I did an interview, I was too meek. Okay? You got to put yourself out there to a certain amount where it's just the right amount that they hire you, and then you shine. Because I had a boss one time, after he hired me, he said, man, he goes, I didn't know about hiring you. When they first hired you, I didn't really understand. He goes, you really got good. And I said, thanks. It didn't do me any good. That company didn't pay that well either. But I had a lot in my life, and this radio is just another one of those things, okay? And if I didn't buy it, I wouldn't have the problem. See, that's how the real thing. It's just another radio, okay? That's all it is. But I wanted it for a specific reason. The spectrum analyzer to locate noises, which I've got, I think, rid of almost all of them in the house. That's it. But I think that's it. All right, that's it.